Okay, welcome everybody to the 4D Method 4D user group. Today is May the 1st, 2024, and this is meeting number 71. On our agenda today, as usual, we're going to talk a little bit about what the 4D Method 4D user group is, talk a little bit then about some of the upcoming user group presentations. We've got a very busy year, a lot of exciting content that we'll be seeing throughout the year and from all of our user base. We'll get a review of the 4D Happy Hour from Kirk Brooks, some 4D news from Jim Sobczak at 4D. We'll look at a couple of recent 4D blog highlights, a lot of great content always coming out on there, and also look at the knowledge base, the 4D knowledge base of note in the knowledge base, where there's always some great tips and long white paper tech notes that are being shared from 4D, where you can learn a whole lot about how to handle issues and do better development. And then we'll have our special topic of this meeting. The great Milan Adamov will do a demo called Master Action Building with GitHub. So thanks for joining, everybody. Welcome. My name is Brent Raymond. I've been doing this for several years now. I'm a career 4D developer. I've been working with 4D in a variety of industries for several decades now. And I just like to talk about it, see what's new in the world, how it's being used out there, and organize the 4D Method user group. We have a website at 4dmethod.com, and I can be reached at 4dmethod@gmail.com. And what we're trying to do with this user group is just to bring together the scattered community of developers and 4D users out in the world, share new programming techniques with all of the new capabilities that keep on coming out at a steady cadence from 4D. And I love seeing what 4D is doing out in the world, how you're using it, where it's deployed, and all the different roles that 4D itself is playing in our reality. And this is a great place to find 4D development support. You've got a wealth of knowledge that attend these meetings and that put on demos. And if you're looking for support for your 4D application, this is a good place to start. So get ready to see what can be done with 4D. You always see some great ideas here. And let's move on along to look at what's coming up on our schedule as far as good ideas. I invite you to be a presenter. Many, let's see, I guess we're going there's been several repeat presenters. This is number 71. So many of you have already presented. However, we haven't heard from Thomas Schlumberger. He's going to be doing a demo on June 26th on his 4D info report component. We've actually talked about that at length in the past, but we'll be getting we'll be talking about it with the actual developer of the component, and that's a great tool to use to track the performance of your 4D system, such as cache flushes, restarts, memory usage. And it's a great thing to run just to get a bird's eye view of how your 4D server and 4D application is performing behind the scenes. And then on August 14th, we'll be welcoming back Bruno Raymakers, where he's going to demo a presentation called Full Database Structure Insight Through the Lens of a Single Method. The usage of creating forms in code that he will be showing off for analyzing your structure, and specifically doing things like giving you more insight into the indexes composite indexes, and other structure information, all just branching off from one method. It's quite a veritable show of being able to create these sort of views on the fly, if nothing else. So then we have another very interesting demo on October 2nd, excuse me, on automating 4D developments using GitLab for CI/CD pipelines. It's a very similar subject to what we'll be seeing today from Milan, and it's a very popular topic these days in the world of 4D and generally in software development. For this demo, we'll be hearing from James Scott and Jeff Kane at Sweetwater Sound. So check out the schedule at 4dmethod.com/schedule, or the link that you'll find on the screen when you visit the website. Again, this is your group. This is a great place to show off what you're doing, all the great work that you've been developing over the years, or just some new acrobatics that you've been working on with 4D. And it's just it's an easy crowd and always interesting stuff to see in general here. So we have open dates on November 20th of this year. That'll be the last meeting, and it's right there waiting for you. Or you can also, if you're not adept to or willing to do it live. It's always a bit harrowing to do these meetings and deal with the curse of the live demo. You can always just record it and share the video, and we can direct attention to it through the 4dmethod.com site. So again, thanks so much for everybody's participation and great ideas for these presentations. There's just so much great content going back several years now on the 4DMethod YouTube channel, and we're ready to see what you have next. Now, as we normally do, I'm going to hand it over to Kirk Brooks to talk a little bit about the weekly 4D happy hour. It's kind of an informal gathering on Fridays where, well, hey, I'll let Kirk talk about it.
Thank you, Brent. As always, it's great to be here, and of course, I think most people here are at least passingly familiar with happy hours, since I see a lot of folks here that come to happy hour pretty frequently. I was reflecting recently on the fact that it's almost 4 years since I began this. It was the summer of 2000. As you remember, the pandemic and all of that had quashed the ability for us to get together, and I wanted something I was missing, just networking and talking to people. And so that's how it began, and golly, I think that makes us the longest running weekly 4D gathering in the world. So there's that. But and I pop the website in. That'll give you the link to the Zoom meeting. I just want to renew my invitation for everybody to stop in once in a while, whether you're a long-time developer like a lot of us are, or you're fairly new to the platform and just kind of interested in asking some questions, finding out about 4D, finding out about the business of 4D. This is happy hour is a place, probably one of the few places outside of summits and whatnot, where you've got the opportunity to just talk about what's it take to be, to make money doing 4D work, who's hiring, who's not, how do you, are there any consulting jobs available? Anybody need any help with something? I don't think there are very many other places, outside of other informal gatherings where you can do that. And of course, it's a great place to come and just nerd out on deep 4D subjects. I know this week I'm going to be interested in maybe putting up some of the features in the new R5 beta that just came out. I was really delighted to see, and I want to express my kudos to the 4D team for taking the first concrete step on the feature request of breaking up the catalog, which has proved to be a really vexatious little document for those of us working on multiple teams on any kind of a GitHub or CVS platform. I played with it a little bit yesterday because it was just too good to pass up, and I thought it was a really solid first step. I was really impressed with what I saw, and if you want to stop in on Friday, we'll take a look at that and maybe some of the other things that rolled out in the beta 5 as well, because that's part of what we can do, and it's always a lot of fun to do it. So please stop by. It's 3:30 to 5:30, 6 o'clock Pacific time. It's tough for folks in Europe, I understand, but perhaps it's just worthwhile staying up once in a while. And with that, I'll say I'm delighted that Milan is making this presentation. I've been working with him on a project for a little bit now, and it's just been impressive watching how he's developed this workflow and how effective it is and how broad it is. And with that, I'll just toss it back over to you, Brent, and see you later.
Okay, thanks, Kirk. Yeah, no, it's a great venue to just come and learn a little bit more and casually talk 4D. And I'll second Kirk's kudos to 4D for the new feature set in R5. We'll come around to talk about that a little bit later, but there's just a lot of, as usual, a lot of very interesting stuff coming out in these new versions. So, all right, thanks, Kurt. And now I'll hand it over to Jim Sobczak, the VP of Sales and Services and the OEM Manager at 4D, to talk a little bit about the news coming out of the 4D world.
Great. Thank you, Brent. And greetings, everyone, from 4D. I hope everyone's having a nice May Day, or I guess Labor Day for much of the world. I know our 4D offices in Europe and Morocco are closed today for Labor Day, so we may have a few less participants in this meeting, but those of you who are on holiday and here, great, thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks, Brent, for organizing these meetings and for inviting Ad and myself to participate. We really enjoy being part of the 4DMethod community. It's awesome for us. And also wanted to thank you and Ed for all the work you do at the Art Institute of Chicago. One of our favorite longtime 4D customers. I think people on this meeting know that's your day job, and it's always been one of our favorite people to work with, you and Ed there. So
thank you, Jim.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, and we're also looking forward to our friend Milan's presentation on mastering action building with GitHub. It should be very interesting. And wow, what a lineup you've got coming up with Thomas and Bruno and the folks from Sweetwater. It's kind of like the Dodgers lineup, right?
It
You
is
got
exciting.
all the heavy hitters coming up, so it's going to be a great year.
Yeah, it's nice to see a full schedule.
Yeah, and Thomas's info report component, we use that everywhere at 4D. Our TS department really uses that for analyzing technical support issues. So it's going to be a really interesting presentation. And as it was already mentioned, most of you know 4D20R4 was released this week. So we're really excited about that. And of course, a couple of days later, as is the usual MO for us, we released the beta of the next version, 4D20R5. Brent has slides on both of these feature releases, so I'm not going to go into these features here. And just a reminder that Will Taylor and Ad, who is on this meeting, will be presenting their 4D20R4 release webinar on Thursday, May 16th. So it'll be at 10 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. So the registrations are already pouring in for that. Seems that we get more and more people for every release to those webinars. And I know Ad and Will really enjoy preparing and presenting those. So hopefully you can all make it to that. And just a side note there, Ad has already moved our our main internal database where we do all of our invoicing and quote system to 4D20 R4. So those of us at 4D are already enjoying the new features in R4. It's pretty awesome. And as we're talking about versions, just a reminder to those of you who are still on 4D19 LTS, that version's going away as of July 12th. We will no longer be selling or supporting that version. So hopefully, if you're not on V20 or 4D20 at this point, you're planning to do that soon. So yeah, just a few things about a marketing campaign. The partner newsletter, which is better than ever now. I think the marketing team's doing a really great job on the partner newsletter. It went out yesterday, and Brent mentioned what 4D applications are out there in the world and what's being done. A new section of the partner newsletters, we're kind of highlighting people who are either presenting their application at a global event or winning awards for their application. In this partner newsletter, we highlighted a Digital Humanities Award that was presented last year for a company called Norma TEI Software in Italy. Really interesting article there in the partner newsletter. So hopefully you've read that. And if you have an application that you're presenting at like a global event, a trade show, a conference, whatever, let us know. And we're happy to highlight it there in the partner newsletter. It's one of our new features there. And then just a couple other marketing points. Most of you have seen the free 4D20 conversion report that is available to you now. All you have to do is sign up, and our team will provide you with a free report on what it takes to convert your application to 4D20. And finally, I just wanted to say a couple words about deep code analysis. I think I say this a lot, but I really believe in this professional services that we offer. It's not a moneymaker for us. We do it so that our developers have a chance to analyze their code, even if the application's 30, 35 years old, or perhaps 40 years old, since this is our 40th year. But the deep code analysis is an audit of your application. It's a good starting point for you as developer to take a look at what could be improved in for performance issues in your code, yeah. So it's not a way for us to criticize the way that development is being done for an application, because that could go back way before you as a developer working on that application. It's a way for us to kind of improve applications over time. So hopefully you'll take advantage of that. It's not a super expensive service. And as I said, it's not a moneymaker for us, but it's kind of like the foundation of where we like to go if we're going to be doing services for any applications, whether it be like mirroring or something like that. But take a look at the deep code analysis. If you have time, we're happy to talk to you about it. I think it's a really important service that we provide to our developer community. So I think that's about it for me, Brent. Thank you for the time.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks again. And yeah, no, that's very interesting about the mentioning how people tend to be able to show off their applications in other seminars, other summits, and that kind of thing. I know in the museum world, there's many museum conferences where they're showing off the things that they're doing with their technology and whatnot. So it's a great way to leverage any presentation, any work that's been done to show off your application in those environments. Also in the 4D world, sort of get double bang for your buck there. So
absolutely.
So yeah, so as Jim mentioned, just had the 20R4 release of 4D, packed with features between 20R4 and R5. In R4 specifically, there's the integrated support to create PDF documents with embedded XML data for electronic invoices in 4D Write Pro. That's a big push, especially in Europe, for sort of standardizing electronic invoices. And as usual, 4D is first up to the bat, keeping up to date with those requirements in Europe. And something that, you know, if you were to have to code that yourself from scratch, it would be quite a project. So that's actually a pretty great feature, especially if you're working with European customers. Then there's also the support of ECDSA encryption format for TLS certificates. That's a lot of acronym right there. ECDSA is the elliptic curve digital signature algorithm, one of the coolest sounding signature algorithms I've heard of recently. So, but yeah, it's just the next step in encryption, staying ahead of the security requirements and security standards out there for modern IT security for all of our systems. So next we have the client server and SQL Server TLS connections getting auto-generated SSL and TLS certificates. That is actually really cool for all of us who have client server apps. I'm sure you're already probably encrypting that connection. If not, it's as easy as a checkbox, and it's a checkbox you might want to check on. But if you haven't enabled that, or you're looking to make it even better, 20R4 gives you the ability to just auto-generate the certificates. You don't even have to worry about getting your own certificates. In fact, they can be auto-generated on a frequent basis, so that it's almost impossible for you know, knock on wood, but it makes it very difficult for anybody to snoop those connections with the encryption, the certificates being automatically generated without you having to even think about it. Also, the direct HTML format for structure definition exports. That's nice. Instead of just an XML export, you get something that's a little bit easier to work with, being HTML. New code live checker, improvements in the development environment, the method editor and whatnot, having it be a little bit more active as you're writing your application code. This is a great one for all of us who have large and older applications. The method parameters declared in the new hash declare prototypes are no longer necessary in compiler methods. So you're not having to effectively maintain two different declarations of the parameters for your methods and return values for those methods. They can all just go pop right into the declare statement, which is a better way to do it anyways, because you can actually see more information about what the parameters are when you're using those methods. In the little syntax bar pop up, you can actually see where those parameters are going and what the variables are called for how they're being used in the method that you're calling. Also, the support of custom date and time formats, a welcome addition into the language. The new try expression keyword to handle simple error cases. Now that's just a small expression or a formula, running a formula or something like that. That's a simple case of try. And also we've got the new HTTP parse message command. That's nice. I've been looking for that for a long time. Effectively, what it is you can give it multi-part form data, blob or text from a calling application or something that you need to parse one way or another, coming from another API, something like that, and it will parse it out for you, and you can pick out the necessary bits of it. Again, otherwise you are rolling that yourself, and it can be a bit harrowing, at least the first time that you do it. So now you have that native in the 4D language. That's a great addition. And the new non-blocking printing compatibility option. Welcome back to the compatibility options coming back. They were, we had a whole slew of them in the binary mode of 4D. Now with project mode, there's still some use for having switches that you can throw to take advantage of these kind of things. Non-blocking printing is where, as you're setting printing parameters, it's not having a inter-process, a universal effect on your application. It's specific to each process. And the advantage is that all of the printing is now thread safe, multi-threaded. You can have individual print jobs going on without any performance hit between the different processes. You can see all of this information and more at the 4D blog at the link below. But then I was just so excited about all of the features coming out in R5. I thought I'd have you guys suffer through these as well. So in R5, you get a new feature called the package manager, which is, gosh, super nice. That's been a sort of a concept in the open source world and other environments for a long time, and now we can have those for our own components. At the museum, I took advantage of making components out of a dozen or so of our main utility modules, and they all have very complex interwoven dependencies, and now you can actually identify those dependencies and control them in a controlled way through this dependencies.json file. That's just that's very nice. I'm certain that we will be using that ourselves. In fact, I thought about writing it myself, and now I don't have to. Then we also have the support of the larger try, catch, and end try. Basically, instead of just an expression, you get full code blocks within the language, so that it's not just an expression. You can have a full block of code and handle the errors gracefully if there are any, or exceptions, as they say, not errors. None of us write errant code. They're just things to catch. That's another nice addition to the language. Then there's the quick network layer. They're building that out very quickly, adding new things like what we had with the previous network layers, such as broadcasting. That's where you can actually see what 4D servers are running on your network and connect to them from a list. SSO, IPv6, so they're definitely fleshing that out very quickly, and we'll be definitely wanting to use that as soon as possible. Then there's the support of restricted entity selections. All of this will have blog articles coming out soon about, but that's a nice feature for providing filtering for your table access in a stricter, more formal manner. Then we have the support of shared classes and singleton classes. New class properties is shared and is singleton, and the use of me within those classes for setting different properties and functions. Right, it's not the whiskey, it's actual singletons, and that's something that we've all since the introduction of classes within 4D have felt a distinct need for. And again, that's something that that has been discussed at length on the 4D at discuss.4d.com on the forums. and plenty of requests for such features, and now we're going to have it in R5. Then we also have the support for initializing class properties in the declaration line. That's great for just popping in a default value. And then the visual structure editor information is now stored, as Kirk mentioned, separately from the table definition information to reduce conflicts in the catalog file. Yeah, again, something that's been discussed at length on the forum. So any of us working in teams with other people, as tends to happen with project mode, definitely facilitates working with teams. Yeah, we'll stop having sort of a needless things in our commit that can ham up our efforts at large. So yeah, great stuff in R5. They're really cranking out the new features in these sort of mid to later R versions. Yeah, it's exciting to see it all come out. It is also exciting to see the new articles on the 4D blog. I don't think that all of the R5 articles are quite published yet, but there are still a couple of new articles, one of them being how to implement continuous integration with 4D, a step-by-step guide that is a bit more cursory than I think what we're going to see today. And then there's the usual tips and tricks for your 4D apps, where highlights some of the recent tips that have come out in the 4D knowledge base. So speaking of which, I'm going to hand it over to Ad to talk a little bit about one of his favorite tech note authors, something that a tech note that just came out in the knowledge base. Ad?
Thanks, Brent.
Yep.
Hello, everyone. So, so today I get to highlight one of my recent tech notes that it's kind of the things that I do often, usually when I run into some problems or things I have to do repeatedly. I try to come up with a different way to do it so that it makes my life easier. And this is about pop-up. So in 4D, we know that there are a few ways to create a pop-up menu, a flat pop-up menu, or a hierarchical pop-up menu. I always find myself that I have to go back and look at the documentation and trying to remember which command I need to use, because there's a bunch of commands I have to put together to create, maybe a more complex pop-up menu. So this is an implementation on how to create a pop-up menu that is driven by a definition. So the way that I put together this implementation is, now that we have object, or, you can save it in JSON, everything is kind of derived from that structure. So instead of having to deal as a developer, instead of having to deal with, adding commands or trying to place a particular command in a particular location, or even trying to look up the position of where your pop-up's supposed to be, it's just too much. So all of these implementation, again, is driven by an object. And the way that you use it is quite simple. Basically define a collection of elements. And if you have any sub pop-up window that you want to appear, you just create a sub-element for it. The structure, and again, when you look at the implementation and the description within the tech note, it should be self-explanatory. Now, if you are ready to use, or would like to use the implementation that I have in this tech note, there's only 3 methods that you need to copy into your project, and it's just ready to go. You don't need to do anything else. And this is one of the things that I often do. I know that we used to have every 2 years a road show or the world tour. which I get to show off some of the stuff that I created and put together over the years. Now that we kind of slow down on that side of things, so I resort to the knowledge base to be where I publish some of these techniques and implementation. And again, there'll be more of stuff like this coming out. I often don't usually write tech notes anymore because we have a lot of staffs who are ready to put out some great contents. But every so often, I found myself, well, let's just push it out there and see if anyone can benefit from it. So hopefully you guys can enjoy this and can take advantage of this implementation in your own project. Okay, just to add something that's kind of related to what Brent said earlier. So there's a lot of contents now, quite similar to the knowledge base on 4D blogs. If you look at blog articles, also there sometimes comes with an example database as well as a detailed information about what goes on to that example. So again, when you look at 4D domains, there are different locations where you can do research and find some new stuff, especially now that we have developer.4d.com. There's a lot of contents in there, a lot of examples that will be helpful to you guys. Okay, so that's all for me for today, and hopefully I'll come back and show you guys with some more stuff next time.
Thanks, Ed. No, it's always nice to be able to simplify some of that menu code. We also had the what's on the menu from Travis in one of our previous meetings. That's some great examples of handling menus and that kind of thing as well. Yeah, I'll just say again, the knowledge base there's always great information in there, especially even some of the tech tips just are little bits of gold that you may not have had to have thought about these problems in your own experience, but they're just a quick read and can really ramp up your knowledge of and skill in working with 4D and 4D environments very quickly. So anyways, thanks, Ed. All right, and now over to the special topic. Joining us today from Serbia, not his native home in Belgrade, but from the outskirts.
Drive to the north, yes.
We have Milan Adamov. Today, Milan operates under his own company, Adamov Consultancy. However, many of us know Milan better from his days working for 4D technical support.
Yeah.
And
almost
right
9 years, yeah.
yeah, rightly so. Since 96, I think, from what I saw in your LinkedIn anyways.
Oh, 4D. Well, actually learned it in 1991, get the first. So actually built the marketing geniuses didn't have the name back in 1993, but what I did was ERP solution, so well, I do have my company for 20 years, but I mostly do contract work. So currently, as Kirk already said, we work together for Clearview Sys most of the time. So what I'm about to show you is actually developed for Clearview Sys, and we used it is like on daily basis. So
okay, well, great. Well, I'll just I'll kick it over to you then, because I know that there's
I can share the screen. Will you share the link or I
will share the link, and you can just go ahead and jump to sharing your screen, and we'll just there is a link to all of the the repository that Milan will be working with. There's a link in the chat, and there's a link on the 4DMethod post, so that you can follow along and
you can follow, and actually you can follow live what is happening in there while I'm showing something else, so kind of not sharing two screens. So well, so you have a link. We introduced ourselves. As I said, I'm very grateful for or Tiran and all my colleagues from Clearius that they have had that they were confident in me that I can pull this off, and we are using this. So the goal was to automate the building process, where we should like release builds to a public available, let's say, archives. So basically we upload all of the things that are built is uploaded now to the SFTP server, where actually to the site where we can point our clients to download latest versions, or we have an automatic update process for standalones. Currently, we are debugging and working in for the server to how to handle that. So that was the goal to do. So that required, well, we didn't convert to project mode just because of that, but that possibility opened. Then we started using Git, and and still like many other techniques you discover when you have to do that. So what are the GitHub? I'm not going to go to what is Git, and I suppose most of you know, and most of you know the term continuous integration, continuous development. So GitHub Actions is something that you can use to automate certain tasks in GitHub. So you can define a workflow. It's a YAML file, a very nasty format. So one space can like ruin your day of work, and you will lose like 2 hours trying to find where is the issue. So it's stored in a hidden folder in your repository. You have events that can trigger on certain action. For example, when you do a pull request, when the issue is created, issue commented, I don't know, many events. You can do it on schedule, or you can do it manually, which I will do. Actually, I will do that right now because it takes where is my repository? Sorry for okay, where it is? I have to do it this way, sorry. Oh, there it is. So this is the repository. You have a link to it. So actions are in this tab here. So when you click on the actions, you will have there. And these are all my actions that I have, all the workflows they have defined. This is the builder one. So I'm going to start that one. Good thing is that you can start in whatever branch you want. So I'm going to use develop now, not the main. I don't know. It doesn't make it's only difference is the destination of uploads. Everything else the same. The binary is everything. So I will start it in develop, and you can actually watch this now. I suppose you can watch this now in if you have repository open. So here is still waiting, still pending in a queue. When I open it, it started. So Mac 1 is started. I do this in sequence. So when you run it without certain things in workflow, it will run in parallels, all three of them. So in our case, we need to run it like in sequence. So when you open this one, you can see what is actually on Mac doing. So at the moment, it's downloading Volute Desktop, downloading for the server, etc., etc. So I will leave it running. You can watch it in a separate window on separate monitor in the repository, and I will go back to my slides. So every workflow consists of runners. Then each runner has jobs that run within it. So what is the runner is actually the kind of virtual machine that is created in a GitHub. You can use Linux, Windows, or Mac OS, and that virtual machine exists only as long as the runner is working anything. After that, everything is destroyed. It doesn't exist anymore. This means that you have actually root access to Linux and Mac OS and whatever is administrator or whatever is super user on Windows. So at the end, so whatever you do, you have to download. There is a possibility to cache things. We don't use that, but you can use it sometimes. For example, I know that James, they will have a presentation in October. They cache like Tool4D. We are not using Build4D component and Tool4D. I will explain that later why. So, and at the end, you have to upload something somewhere, results, or put in what GitHub calls artifacts of the actions to have it. So each job can consist of one or several steps, which are actually shell commands or shell scripts for particular platform that you call within it. And you can, of course, use the actions that are written by the others. For example, the most used one is probably the one like checkout, to check out your repository in your current runner. Okay, so you don't need to run some things, to write some things that someone already wrote them. Sorry, I have to do in order to everything to work and not to show things, you have like things that are called secrets, which are kind of environment variables, but secret ones that are not shown in any of logs. So, you know, you can put sensitive information. For example, I have put like my, I don't know, Apple developer certificate in there, which I use to sign the resulting for the application. So we use dozen of them. I will show them later. Also, we use something called repository variables. At the moment, there are two of them. One is for the current build number. So, and it's increased after each successful build, it's increased by one and stored back to the repository variable. And second is as a version number. In this example, I'm not increasing it. You have to have some kind of convention when to increase it, what to do. What we are thinking to implement now, I propose that, and we think about it, is like when to increase the version number and how. So whenever you, for example, build from release branch, increase automatically by one, but also have something to force the version number to move, for example, from, I don't know, 7.2 to 7.5 if you want it. So that's that's not implemented here, but that's what we are thinking to implement. So for this to work, we need 4D in headless mode, but let me show you the secrets first. So where is the, okay, go. I cannot, why is, okay, I have to do it this way. Repository. This is I hate on Mac, something it moves. See, I cannot find it now. Oh, here it is running, still running. So Mac is still running, creating image file of standalone application. It will start uploading. So you will find your secrets and you define them here. So in your repository, you go to settings, then scroll a bit down, and you have this item here, secrets and variables. Click on the actions, and you are on the secrets tab, as you can see. So our secrets are those. I will explain them later as we go through the scripts actually in our workflow. So we have like a lot of them here. And here are you define variables. So variables, you can see the value. So currently, what macOS is building currently is build number 1030 and version number 1.12. So, and this will increase automatically from our last runner, which we run on Ubuntu, is going to increase it. Why do we run on Ubuntu and stuff like that? I forgot to mention to you that all the runners have their costs. So for your single account, you have like 2,000 minutes for free, included, I think, for Teams, because when we have the notification from GitHub, I think for Teams it's like 3,000. But when you run on a Linux, on Ubuntu, each minute is 1 minute. Okay, each minute actually that runner is running it's consuming 1 minute. On Windows, every minute that you use is actually taking 3 minutes from your free. It's charging you 3 minutes, and on macOS is 10. So, and a special thing is they changed something latest. I posted on forum that they put the Sonoma runner is running now on Apple Silicon, while this one is running actually on Intel. Apple Silicon is always charged, so you don't get to use 3 minutes on Apple Silicon. you're always charged. So we have put like, I don't know, I put like $40 on my account, and I never reached that, you know, in my private. I don't know, on company, I must ask Tiran. So if he like to share that, that was for the secrets and the runners. So it costs in minutes, and later it can get you cost. So you have to find a way to, you know, do work as short as possible, but to do empty work. So to do those things, we use 4D in headless mode. I suppose you saw it already. So you can run 4D in headless mode with or without data file. There used to be a bug. I don't know, when I started to work this, I had an issue for a few days, couldn't figure out why. And 4D in some 19R version had a bug that headless mode without data file was not working for some reason for that case. But now it's everything. Now it's okay. We run this without data file. As you can see, the commands in last 2 lines, that's what we actually pass to. So you can also, we are going through the startup method in 4D for historical reasons that I didn't know, for example, until a few months ago, that you can skip startup method and actually run specific method that you want to do it headless. It's simple to rewrite, but we still use it in that way. And then we can pass parameters, which is crucial thing now in this our situation. You pass some kind of your user parameters to 4D to what to do. So what we are doing is, you can have a small hint from here. We have an actions telling 4D actually what are we going to build. You know, so that's the headless mode. And so what is our workflow doing? What is now our macOS runner doing at this moment while we speak this? So we will need at least 2 runners, one macOS and one Windows, and in that order. The reason why in that order is, I'm not sure how many of you had that experience with that. So when you build the client server application and you tell 4D to include Windows client on a macOS server, you can actually point to the Windows Volume Desktop folder on your Mac disk, and 4D will build macOS server with included Windows client immediately. So, which is not possible under Windows. So if we didn't have this kind of opportunity, we will need to run a macOS runner twice. You know what I mean? So once to build the archive, then pass it to Windows, then Windows to build the archive, pass it back to Mac, and then Mac build again the archive and everything. And you know, so in this case, we are allowed, and it's possible to run only macOS only once and Windows only once, and have it done in one pass, to build everything in one pass. So that's the reason why we are using the third runner, Ubuntu, as I said, to just increase the build number in this case. So in each runner, you check out your repository. So you have your repository in your virtual machine in there, and you can work whatever you want with it. So my idea when we started is to have build files, a build files folder within a repository that is full of scripts and all of the necessary files needed to automate the build process. I will show you that just in a minute or so. So I named it parameters.json because it's in JSON format, and we can use anything. We can tell 4D and our scripts what are we actually want to do. So what are we going to build? What is the application name? Where to download 4D binaries from? Where to upload it? And should we not sign for the application, etc., etc. So that's all in parameterization, which we'll show you later. So we can use also different parameter JSON files in different branches. So what I told you, for example, R5 is out, and if I want to test how it's R5, you know, working with all of this, my script, should they work? Do they work or not? I can just make a test branch, make a parameter JSON file in test branch, implement in my scripts what to do in a test branch, and I can do, you know, like even upload to a completely different location that private, you know, that cannot be seen anything. So that's what are we doing actually now in the background is working, that I will show you later. So since we are using 4D itself, as I told, I'm not using tool 4D or build 4D component. You need the developer licenses. So 4D will know that it's working like in developer professional mode. So in each runner in headless mode, we use 4D actually, 4D standalone to build everything, compile, build, etc., etc. So depending on the build action, what we need to build, we are also downloading Volume Desktop and 4D server or not. As you saw, our macOS running, that it's still running downloaded for Volume Desktop and 4D server, because actually it's building everything. You will see that in a moment also. So after we are done with downloading, extracting, setting the licenses, then we run headless mode and we pass that parameter JSON actually directly to 4D. Then we are checking if we are running actually in headless mode, and we compile project. If compilation fails, of course, we will write some kind of indication that we are going to stop Windows runner from running and do stop something in our macOS running also. So we will know that something went wrong. Okay, because also the build process can went wrong. So you cannot only, later. So that's the why reason. You could exit this, but there is a things called artifacts that is the last step in every job. So in that artifacts, because debugging things here, it's kind of like not the driving blind, but actually, let's say like me driving in the evening without my glasses, so you don't see much of the stuff. So you need to write a lot of logs, everything, and you need to have them after you are done to see actually what happened, because otherwise you're actually, you don't know what happened, like immediately. So anyway, if it compiled successfully, then 4D code is building the build settings XML file. So according to the actions that we passed, and calls build application, which actually does the job. So we are calling build application because we wanted to do this and because we want to have included clients, etc. Somebody will ask also at the end. So I'm not sure how much time we will spend. So I'm going to go forward. So also, if build fails, we create the status log telling our runners that quit. We didn't do anything. Then for this quits, and if we are successful, we have several post build scripts, 2 PostgreSQL fields that will run and upload builds to SFTP server. We have at the beginning we were making GitHub releases, so we were doing. That's kind of possible what we were doing. So you have your private repository with your code that you don't want to make release of that. I mean, to have it available to your customers, of course. So what we actually were doing is we had a public repository. You make releases in public repository and just attach DMG files, zip files, and everything to that public repository. However, because of the concerns of the cost, links and rules to make links, we decided to go to SFTP server where we are the ones deciding how the links will look, etc., etc. And it's kind of, I think it's cleaner and cheaper, and you don't need to use GitHub for that. So that's for it. To do, I can go back here. So what I'm planning to do is to integrate signing and notarizing DMGs that I create. So this was at the moment, this demo is only signing 4D application on Mac, 4D server, 4D, but not notarizing or signing the image file itself with Apple. For several reasons. One reason is it takes sometimes 10 minutes to just notarize the DMG, one DMG on the Apple servers. So, and you will have to like upload 900 megabytes for this server archive to notarize, then wait, Apple to process that, and it takes time. So basically for this, we are going to use, and I'm not going to show that today, something called self-hosted runners. So you can have runners, actually this same workflow, but instead of using GitHub virtual machine, you can have your own computers, whatever, cloud servers, whatever, doing that job and integrated with the GitHub. So everything is the same, but the actual work is done on your self-hosted server. One con for that is that we say it's pro thing for that is that that it's not consuming your 3 minutes, and GitHub it's not charging you anything for that, so it's on your server. I'm not doing adding and removing components and plugins in build XML file. We didn't have we didn't have the, how to say, need for that. But I know that if you want to make something generic, you will have to need that to have a way to exclude by code or by, like this parameter JSON file or whatever, to tell 4D to exclude certain components. We are not doing that. We have components as in repository and plugins in repository, so they are always there. So I'm happy to see this dependencies JSON in R5 to play with it. Okay, so in future, because we use a lot of B2 for having like cloud backups for our clients, so a kind of logical thing to go on is maybe to have support for B2, meaning AWS also, maybe Google Drive, etc. So, and what I was thinking when I mentioned the self-hosted runners is to use subfolders with current build number in documents folder to store. So you will see that I am storing artifacts. It actually, what I mentioned, all the logs and everything in a documents folder under artifacts folder. So after each run, that will be overwritten on a self-hosted runner. And if you want to keep some kind of history record or whatever, then that's something I will do. I had some issues in Windows to do that. So let's go back to see where is Mac going. So okay, let's go here. So this is my main workflow file that we use. As you can see, I allow only to run on manually, actually. Workflow dispatch means run manually. So it's not running automatically at all. So you can put here on push, on pull request, on whatever event GitHub does, you can put that. This concurrency things is like a semaphore command in 4D. So in this case, I'm using my workflow name, like my app. This is the name, my app builder, like a semaphore, to tell not to run this workflow at the same time. So what concurrency means is we are currently running workflow. If I tell GitHub to run this same workflow again, for example, from another branch, it will put it in a queue and wait for the current one to finish, and then we'll start that next one. If you have one pending and you put another one, that one pending is, like canceled, and your goes into the queue to be run in next one. You have also here properties like this group to actually cancel the current. So you can tell in concurrency with this group name, you can tell that cancel the current one running and run mine. So, like to force something. As you can see, you can have global environment variables. So GH token is like, that's not mine. That's actually what GitHub uses to log in, like to give you access to your repository, including this one. So all of your repositories. So as I mentioned, when we used like releases, that was the token also used to clone that repository, in another folder and work with it. So instead of having environment variable in each of the runners, we can have only one, and GitHub knows. So you don't have to refer to this GitHub token. Whatever command you use regarding a Git, it will use this token automatically. So you don't have to like, log in with this and this. No, you're already logged in just by defining this one. So I'm getting my GitHub token from my secrets and putting it in there, and that's it. So the first job is building on Mac, and we are using macOS 13. Why? It's on Intel. I didn't test on Mac Silicon at all, so I didn't want to have issues like for this presentation. This is the status file that I was mentioning. So this status will tell Windows runner, which come next, to either not to run or to run, okay? And this is the also information that I was passing, like, did am I passing macOS client archive or not to a Windows building process? So another first step is, of course, always to check out your repository. So this is how you call, this is like GitHub built-in action that somebody else wrote. So you have for this also, so this will create and install Apple Developer Certificate in a keychain that will be available in macOS. So I put my certificate in secrets, I put my password for my certificates in secrets, and this is keychain password is kind of temporary password. It can be anything because it exists only while the runner is running. So it doesn't matter. You can put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nobody can access that, but you need a default password when you are creating the keychain. You need the password for keychain. So this is actually doing all of that, importing, and the certificate, my certificate is present there in a keychain. So 4D can use it to sign. So this is the action. Next one that actually does the work. So runner actor and runner git is something when I was starting, I didn't know about self-hosted runners. So what I did was actually make one clean Mac virtual machine and one clean Windows virtual machine and try to put them to be as close as the built-in as GitHub runners, you know. So that's why this was something like telling who is actually running. This is say my GitHub username will be actually this one, and this was telling my runners where do you run, in Git or on virtual machine. This is not necessary, but I left it just as an example. So binary is user, binary is password is password for what are we doing. We have an HTTP. I have like actually my HTTP. I can show you, for example, where are the binary. Let me see. Not here. Where is transmit? Transmit. It's this one. So not these two, but binaries is here. So I have this kind of folder, which is accessible by HTTP, and it's password protected. It has htaccess file in there. So I prepared my 4D binaries for you. I'm not downloading from 4D site with everything. I already prepared. So you see that I have almost every version back. I need to put R4 here. So to do our tests or not. So this is the password for, this is the username and password for that. Repo build number, repo version is actually from the repository variables. This is the current build number, current version, and dev licenses this is actually my 4D developer license for Mac. All the licenses that use, because I packed. You have to pack unlimited volume desktop, whatever, and also for the R version or not. So I have like 4 files in it. It's zipped and then base64 encoded. This piece of code, this piece of script is actually doing
Milan.
work deciding. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. There's something going on with this that YAML window. If you could just maybe move it around or
we can only see the top 25%.
Yeah, I see. Okay.
There we go. There we go.
Oh, what's this now? What's this? Did my edit crashed? No.
All right. Yeah, there you go.
I zoomed. You know the zoom that you want to use,
Ah,
Brandon.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I accidentally on trackpad really did it.
Can't trust the zoom.
No. Switch it off before.
Yeah.
So basically, what I do here is actually telling. So as you can see here, I have parameters for main, for releases, for tests, and like current one. So I'm not going yet to go to show you parameters, not to confuse you, but it defines what I have to do, where to upload from, where to upload to. So this is like deciding depending on which branch I'm running in. So since I run this in develop, it will use test server JSON. So if it upload to one SFTP server that I will show you later, not the other. I had to use this way. There is a GitHub action that can actually do this much nicer in each repository. However, it has a bug for when you are pulling something for secrets. So it works perfectly for other variables, but when you pull something for secrets, it's not working. It gives some garbage that you cannot download. You cannot, like, password is not correct when you log in. I had a pretty rough time finding that out. I spent like 2 days trying to, and it's much nicer than this, but this works. And as we say here, like feed the pigs and don't touch anything. It's like feed the animals and all that. So when I do this, I have everything set up. Then I call this build all script, and it works. So while it's this still working, when build all finish, I check, is there a status file in the folder, artifacts folder? If there it is, just set the status variable, the output one that I defined here. So this output here, where it is at the beginning, you remember this output mech set to fail. And when it's set to failed, the Windows runner will not run. Otherwise, set it to OK. Okay, so the last thing is here. So during the build process, I'm making the macOS client archive if I order that. So I will store it, 4D will store it here by the default. So if there is none, I just do warn. Warn means just go. It's like ignore, like warning in 4D compiler, like you have pointer, okay, I know it will work. I just need, because otherwise if I put error, the runner will stop. So if I use after compiler errors, if I use exit, it will stop. So I will not run this last action that I need, upload artifacts, which is actually what upload artifacts does is, let me go to the repository again. Okay. You go to the actions. This is one running, but if you go to the previous one that I did, so in this screen, these are the artifacts. You see the macOS client archive is there, artifacts for macOS, artifacts for this. So it zipped everything that I needed to log. So if I download that, I will show you later what everything is in there. I can download it and extract, and you will see later. So it's like logs that I'm making, logs from the compiler errors, compiler warnings, everything I put there, and directory listings and everything. So these are the artifacts, something connected to actually run that one action. When run, you can attach it. So this runner is doing this. This action is doing that, uploading, actually creating that zip archive, zip everything from this folder. You see artifacts, and attach it to this run, and that's it. This one is actually doing the same, but you can have files with gigabytes and gigabytes in size, and it will say so, because you can be big, and I don't need macOS client archive. I need it only for this run. But I say, let it stay for 2 days at least. Then GitHub will delete it automatically, okay? This means retention days. Okay, so our Mac runner finished now. I don't know if it really finished if you're following, but Mac runner is finished. So next runner is build on Windows, as you can see. So it checks the status variable. So if this build on Mac output out Mac is okay, you can run. If build on Mac complete job is finished, okay, you can run on Windows latest. Windows latest meaning now it means Windows Server 2022. And it also output the same thing to a next runner in a queue, in a sequence, the Linux one, the Ubuntu one. So the same thing, check out repository, download macOS client archive, the one that we created, and I have small workaround for an issue here, because you don't have here, like, if file doesn't exist, there is a feature request for the guy that wrote this action to do that. So if you don't have file, it will exit your Windows runner. So I create small dummy file every time, but I don't pass the command to build. So anyway, to build the Windows, I put the timeout here just to show you that there is a timeout. I didn't put on Mac because timeout is all the time. It doesn't mean if runner is not working anything. Actually, if it's working, if it's not working, it just goes, the timer goes. So if it reached, I put like 30 minutes for Mac OS, and once when I started putting, I don't know, Windows client in Windows server, in macOS server, etc., etc. It took more than that. It took like 45 minutes only on Mac, and it stopped. It didn't make anything. So that's why I didn't put it in a macOS, but here is just to show, because Windows Runner is never going more than 20 minutes, let's say. It's most, for in this case, what we are doing. So the same thing here with these things. And because on Windows, we don't have that kind of, I'm not good with Windows scripting. So, you know, like I have to, whatever it works first for me, I just leave it. And, you know, so maybe it's more elegant way to do it, or use even bash in Windows to do it the same way as in Mac, but I have to do it like this. And then also by the branch, do the parameters, JSON things, set the passwords, etc., and do what I call main YAML batch file calling the Windows. As you can see, this is run in command prompt script, but this here is using PowerShell, which is actually default, because this is like, I don't know, it was like Stack Overflow programming for me to find this way to do the thing. So, you know, in PowerShell and do it and make it actually extracting the creating the status variable to let the Ubuntu runner that we are. And we are here just uploading. We don't need to upload Windows archive. Everything is built by this point. Everything is actually uploaded, and we are just finishing everything. So just pack the artifacts and that's it. And the last runner is, as you can see, it requires build on Mac any of those. If any of those didn't run or exit with error, this Linux Ubuntu runner will not run. It also requires compilation to be okay in Windows. Runs on Ubuntu. I just check out repository, and I don't think I need it in this case, but I just check out if I forget it and I need to do something else in the future. So anyway, what it's doing is just increasing the number of in the repository variable. So GH variable list, just list them, then increase the number, then set the new number and just list them again, just to show in a GitHub action that everything is working. So that's the main workflow. That's actually just grab on it. So let me show you the parameters JSON file, because that's the important one. So what I decided to do is, let me increase this a bit. Okay, so what I decided to do is to have different actions defined for Mac and Windows. I used to separate them by the pipe character, but that pipe character was giving me trouble in Windows, so I switched to the dash. And so actually, this is the like keywords that I defined, and we are using it. So build compile structure, build application, build server, build client, include client. This means include Mac client on the Mac, and include Win client means include Windows client on the Mac. So the same goes for since we already built compile structure, I don't need that in Windows. So build application, build server, build client, and include Mac client. Okay, this is defining the application name that I will use and as set in the build settings XML file. Also the destination folder, which will be created under this name in documents folder, and everything is put in there. So where do I'm going to upload the files? So I have an SFTP server, like upgrades for the RS, and everything goes in there. You will see how it's structured. And this is something that I'm not using here, but we use it in Clearview. This is telling us where to find the version file for automatic updates and where to store the version file after the build. This is leftover. We don't use this anymore, but this is kind of just to show you that we were using like releasing in the repository that we don't use anymore. So public repository from your private repository, etc. Nice catch, but we don't use it anymore. So this is where to download binaries from: Mac standalone, Windows standalone, Mac server, Windows, etc., volume desktop, etc. And this part here tells macOS runner, should I sign on Tense4D also? Should I sign or not, with certificate, ad hoc or not, etc., etc. So this is my Apple how my developer ID certificate for Apple is. So this is, let's say, test server, and for releases, for example, more or less everything is the same except the upload part. As you can see, I have like for brand, I created 4DMethod, 4DRS like domain and put it in there. So let me show you how that looks actually in transmit. So is this one? Okay. So as you can see, this is upgrades, this is test server. So you can see how are we uploading. So creating a folder with version number, then build numbers within that folder, and within the folders, you have all of the files. So you see the holes in build numbers. That's why here are the missing build numbers are actually in release SFTP server. And in Clearview sys, we have like release SFTP server. These files are publicly accessible from clients and from 4D to actually pull, for example, pull this up zip file and upgrade Windows standalone somewhere there. That's another thing we don't have this in this demo, that part of code. So that's the destinations based on repository. So what to show next? Let's see how it's going here. Where is the repository? It's here. So Mac finished. Now we are in the Windows. Okay, so still maybe it will finish. Windows uploading Windows client. Good. Build. So it builds 1030 in uploading Windows client. So when I go back to transmit and I do, where am I? I think I'm in develop. Yes. So if I refresh, you will see the folder there. And so Mac finished everything. We have like 3 DMGs, and we have for Windows client, it's uploading, application is already uploaded, server is uploaded, etc. You see the sizes, so you have to like upload like almost 2 gigabytes. You know what I mean? So it's taking time. That's why sooner or later, I think self-hosted runners will be needed. And so I show you this. I'm not sure. Let's just show you this builds. I say because I think you want to see the 4D code. So this is like the shell that does all the build. Let me increase again. So all the building on the Mac. So since we are running like the root, I can do this without passing the password, just in case disable gatekeeper. Maybe it will save us some trouble and translocating, etc., etc. So get the action from the Mac. So this JQ is something that you use to parse, build whatever JSON files from shell commands, or even it exists on Windows. So each runner is not just plain Windows or plain Mac OS without anything. You have some things pre-installed, like, I don't know, 5 versions of Xcode or Visual Studio, whatever on Windows. You have everything of those, including but many useful utilities. One is JQ that I use. What is the other? curl, for example, it's built in Windows, etc. On Mac OS, what I found out, is that, for example, in this Mac OS 13, the curl that is pre-installed support SFTP protocol, which is not the case by default. In Windows, it's not the case. So in Windows, one of the first things that I do is just install that curl from Chocolatey. It's kind of homebrew for Windows. Never mind. So just in case, remove the project setting files. This is the debugging thing. Just to give me in the screen on the GitHub runner. Just show me what's the listing, just to know where it is, where I'm at. Now copy the default. So you must have the problem where we tried to move, and we moved to have like user settings, whatever. So user settings next to the data file, in the folder next to the data file. So in order to have that and to not have splash things, you have to, since when you do build, whatever is put in 4DZ folder, it's there. So if you're not using user settings, you cannot write settings. So you cannot your users cannot define backups, etc. So you must have something. And actually, I have here this default user settings as a template for that, and default settings also as a template. So I use that in this script to just move them to a proper place before the build. So it will have, it will incorporate that into the compile structure for DZ that use not the one that you cannot modify later. So if the action on Mac is to build application, build client, or include client, for all of these cases, I need 4D volume desktop, so download it. If the action is build server, one of the actions, because it's a string, you can do all at the same time, then download the server. And then if you also need to include Windows client, then you have to download Windows volume desktop. So this is what you're doing. Do the licenses thing. So the licenses actually are, as you can see, I used to download them also, but now I'm getting them from secrets from the GitHub. So it's kind of doing it this way. So basically extract the licenses, then create a library application support for the licenses folder, you will see, and copy them there. We are leaving also one copy in the documents folder because we are going to reference those in our build settings files. It's easier than to have this complicated path just to have home documents, licenses in the scripts and everything, and it's logical place to be. So I just leave them in documents and also copy them into where to. So by doing this, 4D will run as 4D professional, developer professional, and let us build. They say that there are cases that you not did this. I didn't want to try and waste time, so I just, since I already had handling with licenses, I decided to leave it this way, not to try. So that was licenses. Then get 4D itself, create the version file because we need it in advance to have it. So input it in resources that in that way, this will be packed with the build. So you will know which version you have, which build, which version, etc. So that's the thing. Find the project file. As you can see, this is universal. You can name your project file, whatever you want it to find it in there. So you don't need to hard code it as I did in the beginning. So, this is good. So define what the compiler is. So on macOS is this to run it for the headless mode. And that's it. Define user parameters, use JQ to extract JSON from the parameters JSON and call 4D passing with that project file in headless mode without data file and pass it this JSON. So I'm passing actually what I am passing now in this JSON to the 4D, the same one that I'm using. So, and 4D is working. So let's go to the 4D code. I don't see. Oh, this one. So as I said, we are working with on startup, which looks like this, nothing else. Only if run headless do the thing, and nothing else. So this is only thing that how we manage. So in run headless, do you see? Oh, okay. I think you can see it.
Yep.
Okay. So are we actually running in headless mode? That's line 9 and 11. And I'm logging platform info. So as I said, log everything. You need to log everything because you are, as I said, like driving blind in GitHubs. You need something back. When you have an error, you need something in order to know what happened actually. So get the database parameters itself. That's the JSON file. Get the JSON file. So on Windows, because as I told, I'm not the expert for Windows command line, I couldn't make it to work to pass in command clear JSON, the quotes, double quotes, whatever. So when I struggled for about a day or so, I decided just to encode it into base 64 and pass the base 64 string to 4D and then decode it here. And that's why I'm doing this here. So it was easier for me. Maybe I can sometime in the future fix this and do it, but I don't know. It works this way and I'm not touching it. So basically that's the reason why I'm doing this, like base 64 decode. So everything, log everything. So let's just show you this method so you will see. So get the message, use the Windows log events, use the system standard output. This will also make it to in GitHub, as GitHub is running GitHub action, you can see the lines going, and also put it in the log file. Why? Because I will have create a text file that I will later copy to artifacts folder, and I have it in artifacts after the run to, you know, the zip files that I can download and analyze. So that was the, so parsing the JSON, log, etc. If there is something in a config, just do the action. So I'm using this config action. Am I on Mac OS? Do action Mac. Am I Windows? Do action, maybe others sometimes, who knows? And if there is nothing, just run only. This means it will just pass. So it will return false, and whatever you had in startup will actually run. That's the reason for. So this method is dumping everything to the artifacts folder. So at this point, I'm dumping the actual config in 4D. So config before the build. So if there is not run only in the action string, and I don't use that, I never use that. So always go here. So if it's run only, I will do nothing. Just go here. Just finish. So set compiler options. I think I have a bug here. I don't know if they fixed. I didn't try. So I use append. I was trying to do whatever is needed to recreate it completely from scratch, and 4D was like crashing or not doing that. So append works anyway for generating compiler methods. So, and then compile, always compile. I mean, that's what I do. So if compiling is okay, do this. If not, we will create a status file and quit 4D and go, you know, like debug later why, you know. So log, and now build all. I will show you this method in advance. So when it's built, also status success or not, building done, etc., and then quit 4D. Building is doing, it's here, it's this method. So this is build all. So pass the project. Is there, that's why this is the reason why I choose to start all the action strings will build. It was easier for me to do it this way. So no. So get the version object, the one that was created in the script, actually in the shell script before I ran 4D. So get that object into this object. If it's not, what is the build number? Because we need build number also from 4D to do something. So that's why I'm doing this. In order, this is, I'm creating that because otherwise I will need to call like launch external process to get environment variable, you know, a lot of new points of failure. So it's easier to have, I already have that file somewhere. I need it, or I actually need it every time to be it in the resources folder. So just use that file. Okay, so that's the, where is the project path stored? And this is the like the heart of everything actually, because after this, we are calling build application. So preparing the setting files. This is like, Miyako had, I think he started to do a class for this. So you don't need to do this, what I did here. But anyway, I will just shortly drive you through. So since I use the dash for the separator, so just build a collection of actions that I need to do, okay? So try the setting, what is the settings file name? It's this one. And where it's stored, the settings that I'm going to create actually. So common code, regardless of the action, is to build it like this. So do the, I don't know, put the whatever you need, like template path. Where is the template to XML file? And as you can see, I'm logging and dumping like crazy everything, every step, because this is crucial. Without this, it will be impossible to make this at all. So where are the licenses? Okay. Get local licenses, set the path, you know, it's building. So what is the destination folder, remembering the build? So this is like my build. This should be like from parameters. Okay, so something new to do. It shouldn't be hard coded, so I missed that. Okay. Set the destination path. What is set the application name, get it from the parameters, set the volume license path. Even if you're not using it, I am setting it because otherwise I will have to set it twice. Once for standalone, one for macOS client archive license. So this is like the file. This is like just do it once, even if you're not using it later. So if I'm on Mac OS, also check the signing part. So this here sets everything I need to put in like build file. So actually, I'm going to show you the build file from the Mac OS. Let's say the settings that are actually used. So this is what I'm building. So you see full. So this is the signing piece here. And I start to do it from here. So you see here is like the template without many of those, like we see all some 0.9.2 whenever I started to work on this, like more than 2 years ago. So it's like building from that template, I actually built this same thing here. Okay, so back to 4D code. This one. Okay, so signing and then go through the actions that are defined and set everything. So set compile structure. When I build application serialized. Set volume license location. When you're building the server, set the server building to true. Set the location. Embed projects. Actually, the file that are with the project itself to embed with the server. Set the version. This one is using actually. That's why I needed the build number in 4D. To set it to a, so the version in the 4D server and client, the one that decides should it upgrade the client or not, is actually our build number. The same build number that I'm using to build. Set last data, path whatever you want. Building client location, etc., etc. Include client. If I need to include Windows client on Mac, also the same thing. Set the client. So for each thing in XML, I have like a method to set it. Passing the current XML, returning the, so it's like, and then of course, dump that file to artifacts folder, twice. I don't know why twice, but dump it twice for some reason. So when you go back to build all, if everything is okay, then just call build application and that's it. After that, just also put the log file from the build to artifacts folder. Everything is okay. Display the message, and that's it. And after that, just quit 4D and go back to here. After that, we are calling what is called here the post build shell script, this one. So this is after the build. Do the destination, what is the build number, destination folder, etc., etc. Everything that you need to do. Dump some information here, like the listing, because to know if it's a build or it's not. So if the action build compile structure, release structure. What does the release structure do? Let me see. So more or less, release methods are same or not, except different. So where to upload? What is the application name? What is the destination? I have to rename this also because the same reason, because of like on Windows, I'm doing base for 64 encoding. Sometimes these spaces can give you a hard time in script. So it was easier for me just to rename it without spaces, and do the thing. So anyway, create the zip file of all the compiled structure, and create also the image just for the fun to show you that you can do that. URL and upload it to this URL. So you have a version, you have build, and we told curl to create missing folders. So I don't need to check if folder exists, doesn't exist. Or curl will do that for me. Do it silently. -K is like ignore whatever SSL thing can happen. and the user is here, user and password. So that's the release structure. Post build is here. So basically the same with the version, with the build application, build server, build client. And if you need to include client or we include Mac client, so we check for the Windows action here, as you can see. If it says include Mac client, then we have to pass client to a Windows runner. And I will show you how I'm doing that. So I have the archive. So there is a difference. If you're building the server with the macOS archive, it's here. It's in my build folder, server with your application name, server app, and down here. If you're not building server, which you can do, you don't need to build server, but you can build just the Mac client archive, then it's stored here. Like this folder is directly on the client server executable. So this is like, so I'm also setting that variable to true to GitHub environment and setting it to output. And that's it. So that's how you pass, because we use that action to actually do things, because we copied it to, as you can see, home documents, update Mac, the location where it's accepted. So that's the, so going forward with post build, well, nothing less, just for debugging. As you can see, I'm just like paranoid with debugging, because without it, you can waste, I mean, and this is the workaround for that issue. So if there is no update Mac archive there, just create just create some dummy file, you know, like connect. I put action and Windows action in the text file just to have something not break. So that's the process in Mac Runner, and in Windows Runner is more or less the same, just to show you that I'm using the command prompt commands usually. So you can see you have JQ, you have curl, you have 7-zip, all of them already installed in your how do you say, in your Windows Runner. So in essence, I think that's more or less it. What I'm doing in Linux Runner, Linux Ubuntu Runner is just increasing the number. So also a lot of batch scripts and everything, and I think that's it. I'm ready for the questions. Just check if this finished. Okay, so also this finished everything. So you can see, you see from the logs what I was doing. So you can always check here after the run. See, that's it, that's it. And to get the artifacts, let me do that now. So you can see we have a runner here, and let's check like macOS artifacts. I'll download them. I hate this. How can I move this? Okay, you don't see it, but go to download folder. This is one, open, and you see a lot of files there. So log4d text is actually the same thing as your GitHub runner is listing you there. So you can have that like kind of offline. See? And all the listing files, etc., etc. So I'm ready for questions. I don't know.
That is quite a whirlwind. That's it's good to I can see why having good logs is very necessary. There's yeah, so much going on in different environments, different runners, and you know, large steps that need to you know, that are dependent on one another. How long do you think it would take to do all this manually? I mean, it's certainly scripting it all is saving a ton of.
Well, it takes a lot. I mean,
yeah,
takes a lot. Upload, you know, and prone to errors. So, which word did I do? So when I was preparing like 2 days ago, and I was doing this, including Windows client on the Windows Volume desktop on the Mac OS, and build that, and I was building locally. And 4D kept telling me, oh, you have error. It's not the same number. I said, how? And then after, I don't know, 15 minutes, I figured out it's true. I was actually using like for the 20.2, and I was actually building with 20.3. So it was like,
Mhm.
oh,
Yeah, I've done the
it
same.
was, it was
Yeah.
true.
Well, exactly. So you get the with these this sort of scripting, you get an exact repetition every
Mhm.
time you need to do the
Yeah.
build.
Unless GitHub changes something, as I wrote in a forum 2 days
Right.
ago, just why it failed. And I'm not following, I don't know, they have a lot of blogs and anything. I suppose there is an information about it. And they just put the macOS latest instead of Sonoma Intel, they Ventura Intel, it's now Sonoma Apple Silicon.
Right.
Since we have, I think, one component still, which is not compiled for Apple Silicon, it was failing. Compiling was failing. I said, why? How? And, and
Yeah.
after an hour or so of trying to figure it out, remove component, put it again, like push, no. And then figure it out, they just put it there. And also what they figure out is this that I mentioned. So in macOS 13, your curl is actually supporting SFTP protocol. You don't need, in the beginning, I had to use brew install curl to get the homebrew version, which supports SFTP. Now I don't. But in Mac's OS latest, Sonoma, it's not supporting SFTP. So there's the small things that you always have to be in touch with what GitHub is doing
Right.
so that's the one thing. I don't know any other questions except the one why are we not using build for the component, which looks so nice, all these things with XML that I'm doing, it's like all dot notation object, and I'm not familiar. I tried it and I'm not familiar because when I started with this build for the component was actually only building compiled structure, as I
Right.
recall.
Yeah.
And
It's
it was not
relatively new. Yeah.
it was not useful for me. So I built it, and later when I already built this, I didn't have interest in trying to learn, etc. One thing I'm not sure, so maybe somebody can help me. I think that one thing it's still not capable of doing, this thing of passing the macOS client archive to Windows. How do you do that in with build for the component?
Mhm.
That's what's stopping me even to try to go. I'm not sure if it's, and the other thing is all of the 4D stuff as I saw it, all of with body build 4D component, it looks like they all had in mind to make universal builder, like the builder application that will build from the other projects. That's why you cannot use, in that case, you cannot use build application. Build application can only build the project that is currently open. You know what I mean? It's not made to build another project. So, but we actually needed exactly that to build the current project in the one pass with all variants, all server, client, include clients, etc. So it worked
Right.
for us. I don't know. I mean, it will be nice to switch it. I mean, maybe sooner or later something will break even with 4D, not using so that's the reason why we don't use it. I'm too lazy to learn now because I already have something working. And I think that one thing I have to check with somebody, I think it's still not capable of doing that kind of. So you are basically, you have to do Mac OS runner twice. You will have to in order to achieve this, what I'm doing in once in Mac OS, one in Windows, and all in one pass, all in.
Right. And if anybody has any questions about that or anything else, please feel free to put them in the chat or just hop on the audio. But it's very interesting, how all of that works. You have to build on each platform if you have a mixed platform server client setup environment, so that you can automatically upgrade the clients running they're connecting to your server. If you have a server running on Mac or PC, that server would have a Mac version of the client, built client, or a Windows version of the built client to upgrade any of the client machines as they connect to the upgraded server. And so that all has to be included in one built server. But it sounds easier as Milan has shown us. It certainly sounds easier to do it, and to automate it is quite involved. But the payout is tremendous.
Tremendous.
Yeah, you don't have to be as wary of the build process for this complex environment. And you can release versions a little bit more flexibly instead of waiting for large upgrades that and less frequent upgrades for your client base. So you can crank them out and run the automation and even run the automation every time any feature is done within the code project.
You can do whatever you want, like depending on the branch, and that's what I had in mind, like to have it more like configurable. So if you need something different, you just build something different from different binaries and try it. So it's kind of what is missing here is now including the Apple Silicon client, which I saw on forums that there are some issues. That's another thing to do. And basically, and do the notarization. And I plan to do it because I'm using the MG Canvas, but sorry, not much time. Maybe part 2 in next year.
Right. Part 2 when you recover from this demo.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. That's quite a lot of material, but it's incredible that you're able to share that with everybody on GitHub for each.
Yeah, well, thanks to Tiran, we said, oh, we want to share with community. Said, okay, I will share. So in order to make it work, you can fork it, and you have to define all of the secrets there, and the variables, and that's the main part. So,
that is very generous of Tiran from Clearview Systems to allow all of this great work to be shared and made accessible to the 4D community. Yeah, so if there isn't any other questions, I'm gonna let Milan off the hook here and let him catch his breath.
oh yeah,
I think the Sabaton worked.
oh yeah, Sabaton worked. Yeah.
Let's see. I'm gonna share my screen again. And invite everybody for any pitanya if my Cyrillic
questions, yeah,
for any questions. But thanks so much to you, Milan, for all this sharing all this great work. I know that it's not easy to present all of these scripts and whatnot. And I think you did a great job of painting a picture of how complex the environment is and what a invaluable process that you've made for Clearview Systems. Yeah, so if anybody has any other comments or anything other than bravo and excellent, which is all going through the chat right now. But just say thank you again to Milan and everybody at 4D, Ad, Jim, and Kirk for talking about what's been going on with the happy hour, and look forward to seeing all of you in the next user group meeting. And yeah, we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much. Feedback is always appreciated, as well as support via Patreon or any other way, such as giving awesome demos just like Milan did. So, all right. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Brent. Thanks, Milan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Cheers.
bye-bye.